Writers, readers, drinkers, lend me your ears and your livers. Welcome to Writers Drinking Whiskey Open Bar, your boozy literary author panel, where we're going to dive deep into the writing subjects of today. I'm your host and resident object lesson, William R. Hensey. And joining me today, I'm really thrilled to have Tim T.D. Johnston, Dana Ridenour, and Dan Conover, who writes under D.C. McElroy, with me. Everyone, welcome to the bar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Howdy.
Good to be back.
Just so everyone knows, I'll include full bios in the description. So anyone wants more information, including links, how you can get more information on any of us here, just go to the description. You'll find all you want and more there. All right. So criticism. How do you handle criticism? Specifically, criticism to your writing. So negative reviews, maybe bad feedback from an editor, beta readers, agents, whatever it might be. I think we started Tim last night. What last question you want to start us, Dan?
How do I deal with negative feedback? This is a good way.
Amen, brother.
But I mean, that's the reality is that I've been spared that thus far. In terms of, as y'all know, I spent like a year trying to convince somebody to give this a shot, and the agents weren't going for it because there are no comps for what I do, and I understand that now. But if you look on my author pages and my product pages at Amazon, there really aren't any negative reviews. And why is that? I don't know. But I think part of that, of course, could be that I'm not being read by the same critics that other people are, and I'm not asking strangers for comp or for reviews. So I don't know, but in general, I've spent 20 years as a newspaper reporter, editor. I'm pretty used to people setting my ass on fire over the telephone or in writing, and sometimes in print. And it's not that I'm tough, it's just that this is not my first rodeo, and I'm not writing for everybody now. And if anything, the thing that I've noticed from the experience of writing exactly what I want to write, the less I care about making other people happy. I really am. There's nothing quite like a great review from a stranger who just somehow or another came to your book and loves it, right? I'd like more of that for the rest of my life if I can get it. I'm writing for the people who like what I do. I try to focus on them more than the people who don't get it. And so far, so good.
Yeah. Well, I think I think sometimes a negative review can be it just got into the hands of the wrong audience, right? So if you have an audience and that was expecting your run-of-the-mill, very straightforward fantasy series, and they came to yours, and they're like, "Oh, well, this seems a little different," and maybe they'll like it, maybe not. But it could just be a case to where is the best questions you could ask yourself is the marketing right? If that does happen, is my market, is my materials pointed to the right people? Is it getting in the right hands or the right faces?
The closest that I've come to having like a negative review is I've had two guys that are series readers. I know them, and they not only read and review, but they'll talk to me, and one of them was just like, he just really liked it when I had female protagonists, and most of my books, I've got female protagonists. Women are just interesting, but you can't make everybody happy all the time. And that's the thing about having a relationship with your readers. You're not always trying to fluff them, but at the same time, if there's some trust that you're going to land the plane, they're going to enjoy the ride a little bit more, and that's what I'm shooting for.
Tim, you want to take it from there?
Yeah. Well, like Dan, I've been lucky enough that I have yet to see a bad or negative review of my work. But that doesn't mean that people haven't read my book. And so, well, I only go online to leave positive reviews, so I'm not going to do, who knows whether people don't like our books. I haven't had anybody express that to me. I will say that one frustration of mine is on those occasions with reciprocity. I think there are 43 reviews right now. 42 of them are 5-star reviews. One is a 3-star review. And I've gone and looked at that a couple of times because I don't know why a person chooses 3 stars and then writes 3 words for their review. You know what those 3 words were? A good read.
Right.
Why do you want to mess with my average rating by giving the book a 3, which to me means mediocre, average at best? That's what it means to me anyway. I'm sure that to some people 3 means acceptable, a C. If you're going to say a good read, okay, how about a 4? Great read, how about a 5? 5 stars. I mean, if that's an A, then give it the A. But that, I have seen a number of writers comment about those types of ratings, and maybe where a person just has no idea how to use the stars on Amazon. I don't know. I don't even know. I never go there and do it. My wife kids me because I never go and review anything. What she reviews products all the time and travel experiences and whatnot. And she's very thoughtful about it. And I'll give her an opinion about something we've experienced, if we've gone somewhere or to a restaurant or whatever. And I say, that was great. Well, I'm just not going to go and say that was great on their site or wherever that would be done. And when I say to her, I am going to go and eviscerate that organization, 1 star, something, I'm just going to let them have it. And I never do it. And the next day I've just forgotten about it. I never do it. So I really don't do it. I just don't do it. And even when I enjoy something and I should go and do it, that's a fault of mine. I don't go do it. And I should when I like it. I should rate a restaurant or certainly an author. But I've been lucky. I haven't seen a negative review. If I were more widely read, I'm sure that I would, as Dan indicated. I think you're bound to if you're more widely read. But most people who read my work, they're either looking for short stories or they're looking for a thriller, because that's all I've written on the long side. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Well, I think that's a good point too, is a lot of times if you don't have a lot of reviews, that a lot of times will be either kind of dedicated readers. I mean, it could be friends, family, right? I mean, this could just be your bigger, circle filling in. So as it goes out more, you may expect just to naturally see people it doesn't connect with all the way. And that just then gets a good read,
Yeah. And that 3-star, I'm really glad I have no idea who that was, because I was like, no, don't say it's good read and then give it a 3. Please don't do that. I don't have enough reviews for that not to knock the score down a little bit.
That's funny. So I'm going to let Dana go, but I have a review you're going to love of one of my books. If you're worried about that 3-star, just wait. This is a fun one. It's a fun one. I showed my son as well here. But Dana, you want to chime in?
Sure. I have thick skin, and so I knew that my books aren't going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I really don't mind if people read the book and say, hey, I like things blowing up every page, and you didn't have things blowing up every page. I mean, that's not why my books are, I've tried to keep mine as realistic as possible. So there's not a murder on every other page. So, you do get those readers sometimes that want that. And so my books aren't going to be their cup of tea. I don't have a problem with that because I do have so many readers that do love the books and support me. And that's great. That's a lot of fun. What I do have a problem with is somebody that has an agenda. And because of my background and because I did the undercover work with the Animal Liberation Front, Earth Liberation Front, I will get the activist on there every once in a while. That'd be like, oh, I knew this person. She claimed to have infiltrated us. She didn't infiltrate us. 1 star. They don't even read the book. They probably can't. I don't know. Now that gets my goat. That really does. It's like,
those people are engaging in sabotage.
Exactly. And the problem is you don't have really a leg to stand on. I mean, because you can't get anybody on the phone at Amazon or anything like that. So if they do give you a 1 star, you just got to suck it up and live with it.
Well, I think what happens too, just realistically, is like, because my wife does it a lot. I don't so much. I don't base my purchases so much on reviews, but my wife will go look, and she'll bring them up to me, usually restaurants, but it'll be like, oh, here's the 1 stars, and you almost ignore them because it just seems like someone has an axe to grind, and so. If smarter and they really wanted to do something, I think they would actually comment on the work, right? So,
well, I was just going to ask if any of y'all had ever had reason or experience as a critic, working as a critic, criticizing in public.
No.
Any of y'all ever done that?
No.
No. Okay. I'll just say this: I was a book critic for years, and for newspapers, as a hobby, really. And the thing that really struck me was that, frankly, a lot of products and a lot of books don't really deserve much of a review, which is not to say that they're good or bad. They're simply not remarkable. And the thing that I started doing over time, I realized that the reviews that I regretted weren't the ones that were negative or positive. They were the ones that were obligatory. Because if you're just reading a book that doesn't speak to you, that has nothing remarkable about it, it probably has an audience. And you're just not it. And if it's not remarkable in the sense of you want to remark on it, good or bad, why are you reviewing it? Leave that that's just a commodity, right? The things that I think make great criticism are because you see something special in a work and you really want to talk about that to other people, or it's so bad that it's almost offensive and you really want to get at what's wrong here. And in fact, it was reading a really horrible, just offensively bad, traditionally published fantasy novel that I more or less, I don't even know why I did it, right? I think it was something about the title made me go, oh, that sounds awful. I want to look at this one. And I raked this guy. Still one of the worst books I've ever read. And I feel better about that than I do about all the sort of, the ones I feel bad about are the ones where I gave a mediocre review to somebody that maybe didn't deserve a great review, but certainly didn't need to be published that way. The reason I did it was because I accepted the assignment. And today I just wouldn't do that.
No, that's a good point. I think I think about that a lot, actually, is that when I was full-time corporate America, and then I was transitioning to mainly writing and podcasting and doing all this crazy stuff all the time. Because of that corporate background, because I was a director, I had multiple sites across the world under me. And you have to think about a lot, how do you measure people, right? How do you measure their performance? Because that's how they're going to work, right? And so it's okay, if I can't tell so-and-so they're not doing their job if I don't actually give them a clear idea of what doing a good job looks like. And I always had this notion, I want to be a great writer. Well, I could maybe give you Examples, but I didn't have what does that actually look like for me at this stage of where I'm at. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about that. And that was one of the things that tripped with me, was that I want it to be remarkable. So I actually ideally I want to see a few people that just they go off the deep end because I've offended them or I've offended some sensibility. Not that I'm like an offensive comic or something, right? But it's like I want to take chances. I don't want to pull punches, and so I don't want to be that middle ground, right? A 3 to me, Tim, that would hurt my heart, I think, more than the 1 will. And so I teased this one. Let me read this 1-star review to you guys and the audience, so everyone can know my shame. So you can find this. This is for my book, A Fire for Christmas, which incidentally has won like three awards, like 2 American Fiction Awards, and International Book Award, but is not hitting with Mr. Traveler, I would guess, TRVLR. So the title of the review is "This is not satire. This is not good." I'd like to know in what way this author thinks this is satire. I did not find this to be true at all. Okay, now for a dose of reality, Mr. Hensey. You need to learn how to format a book, which I don't because I don't format them, but commentary aside. And your editor should have told you not to use emojis like that in the book either. I have no idea if you actually inserted emojis in your manuscript and they converted to the digital format, or if you actually, heaven forbid, wrote out all of those, are laborious to read, distracting, and seriously overused. I did not find this a fun read in any way. Also, I do not actually know who designed the cover art. I don't want to rake the cover artist. He didn't like the book designer, the cover artist, or anything I have to do in the world. So I share it because I thought it was funny. I also share this with my son when he had a friend that didn't like his artwork. My son's very dedicated to drawing. He had a friend that didn't even say anything bad about it, just chose him last in their little group of 3. And so I showed him this. I think of one other review where someone rakes me over the coals. And it's, when I read it, I just go, oh, he or she was offended by something that I wrote, right? Like you're Mr. Hensey, like getting very very formal. And while I hope that person has a great day, it's not like a review I can do something with, right? If it was a valid critique, I could maybe kind of try to learn from it, think about it. Maybe I could think about the marketing of something. Is it getting to the right people? This one, I'm like, no, it's just because the story set down during the pandemic. It's a satire, and it's at times like satire the pandemic and our response to it, because we can be crazy people on all ends of the spectrum, like just tugging and pulling, like crazy. And it mocks that a little. And there's 1 or 2 people that were actually, one person that said, I didn't like the satire on the pandemic, but otherwise it was really well written and I enjoyed the book. So I share that for that reason. It's just to as anyone out there gets these, you might occasionally get some really vicious review. I actually just take that as okay, good. Like if you don't like it, I'd rather strike a nerve than it be forgettable.
I think that one comes back to agenda yet again. That sounds like a person who is at least prospectively in the business of editing services and publishing services, asking writers for money to do those things for them, is my guess, actually. And just listening to their mechanics, my guess is they're not very good at it, and hence frustrated. They don't get hired a lot. That's my guess. Agenda was there in that one, I think. I was accosted one time by a person with an agenda at during my little reciprocity tour. I was accosted by someone who had read the book, had the book in his possession. And when I see somebody with my books at a reading and signing, I think they've brought the book to have me sign it. Well, this man did not have me sign his book. He was incensed because he was Italian American, and he believed that because I wrote a novel about a secret cabal that is killing mob bosses, that I was anti-Italian American, and therefore I should just not be writing thrillers. And I said, well, first of all, I think that Universal Studios is a pretty careful outfit. And they adopted this novel as a multi-season television series. They are adapting it. And they have people around who certainly would voice the opinion that this author is anti-Italian American, and that didn't happen because I'm not. And if it was good enough for them, then really I'm just going to have to say goodbye right now. You know, regardless of your viewpoint. And he had said that he was Italian American, and he took offense. It's like, well, you know, I could get into a debate for 5 minutes with him where I ask him, can you point out the points in the book that indicate that I am against Italian Americans? There are plenty of points in the book that indicate that I'm against organized crime. That's a different conversation. But just like The Sopranos was not an indictment of Italian Americans, you know, but it's an examination of one mafia family in New York and New Jersey. You know, just lighten up, Francis, relax, and I'll sign up if you want.
Right. Well, I mean, that at least it wasn't a mobster that walked in. It was like incensed about your depiction of, you know, mob operations.
Yeah,
So
somebody who does what they did with The Godfather, where they were on location approving scenes. You know, the guy who played Luca Brasi was a made guy who was assigned to intimidate people on set. And
really, I didn't know
so,
that.
you know, I'm 2/3 of the way.
Watch the
What's that again?
The Offer on Paramount Plus. The Offer is a series. Offer is a series on Paramount Plus that is about the making of The Godfather. It's hilarious.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that.
I think fairly truthful.
So what I heard,
excellent. Miles Teller as the producer of The Godfather.
So what I read about Luca Brasi is true. I mean, I think so from the sources
All
where
true.
Yeah. That
story is in there.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. That sounds amazing.
I am definitely gonna watch that. Yeah. But yeah, nobody has shown up. I'm working on the sequel now. Nobody has shown up at my door to say, here's how your sequel's gonna go.
Fingo's coming back. What was that? It was the Stephen King book where the fan like ties him up, like kidnaps him, and then like wants him to bring a character back. Like, bring this character back. And he has to try to figure it out.
Misery.
She's torturing him. Misery. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. If you have a subject you'd like us to cover or something you'd like us to do a deeper dive into, drop us a comment. We'd love to include it on a future episode. The show is a labor of fun, and it's truly a reward in its own right. But if you would like to support me or the other amazing authors I have on there, consider picking up a book. Any of the writers we have on here would be a great addition to your bookshelf. Each one is a master storyteller and just a great person to boot, so you'd be doing them and yourself a great favor in picking those up. And while I would never call myself a master, because that would be, as we said in the 90s, conceited, I do have on a pretty good authority from critics and my mom alike that I'm not bad. So if you wouldn't mind picking up one of my books, that would be great as well. I would appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and thanks to my great panel of guests for coming on and spending this time with us. Cheers.